I have been gifted an opportunity to be a PC again in a Pathfinder2e campaign setting.
A blessing from the Lord.
And despite all of my previous videos I had done on concepts and ideas, I ended up with another brand new character. But let's go over the character requirements for this setting. We are level 2. We are in the country of Taldor, in a location close to the World's Edge Mountains called Faldamont. We were originally from a knightly order, but it was destroyed in a coup, so we are in the process of reforming under a new name. So for this campaign, there were a few limitations thanks to the location and setting which honed in the Ancestry pool within the lore. This also really narrowed down my pre-made characters, as it's hard to justify a kobold or a leshy as being a member of an order of knights, even with the World's Edge Mountains and Verduran province being available. I was down to 2 options: a human thaumaturge who I made at 3rd level, who used the whip, talisman dabbler dedication, and scroll thaumaturgy, who was ever so slightly inspired by Castlevania. They could easily be spun into the Knight Order storyline, and maybe even give the GM a hook to hammer in the character's origin with a big bad political person who just so happened to be a vampire. While the other character is an Elven Precision Ranger, who is a search and rescue specialist with a battle medicine feat and medic dedication. Someone who would play the role as a scout for a small party sent out to help those in need, and a survival expert who could guide others in the wilderness. But the player roster helped me make my final decision. We have 2 experienced players who already had their characters conceptualized, a wizard with cleric dedication and a champion with sorcerer dedication. But the 3rd player is new to the system, and I vaguely remember someone saying they'd pick a damage dealing class. So with no main healer, my selection was written in the stars, and my next PC I will play is a ranger named Cressel. And the token most of the party is using may ever so slightly look like a knight or family crest. I also find this kind of ironic because in my 5e campaign, I'm also playing a ranger there too, who uses a gun with wild magic. Check this video link for more on that character. As a side tangent, the art is currently an AI piece someone else has generated, but it is currently a stand-in until I either make my own or commission someone else. The invitation to play was very sudden, and AI impacts artists far too much. I frown upon using it for an extended period of time, and I enjoy crediting artists for their hard work. I even put in extra effort to do so in every single video I make. So how did I build my character? What did I have in mind for feats, proficiencies, and more? I had mentioned that my character acts like a scout, which is his background, and that I would go into medic dedication for my free archetype, which means my 1st level skill feat must be battle medicine. Here are his proficiencies and his stat block. I'd say he's very capable in his environment, which is towards the east side of Taldor near the mountains, hence having mountain lore. But while medic dedication is good, what about his ancestry? I decided to double dip a bit into being an ancient elf that gets a free class dedication. And with that, I grabbed the alchemist dedication, so that I could craft healing potions and cures at low level for the party, as my character would be able to craft the potion necessary to get anyone home safely. This is particularly useful as our wizard, who was once a cleric, managed to justify being a skeleton PC. Knowing this, I probably could have justified being a kobold who could have been the mascot to the order with ram-shaped horns. But having the ability to get free elixirs of life or oil of unlife is important, as I don't have the stitch flesh feat to heal an undead. Though I feel like glue and popping joints back together sounds appropriate enough for a skeleton. All of these dedications and skills means that he has a high gold requirement at level 2 and little to no bulk remaining for loot, as this is what his backpack looks like. I actually had to remove a point in Constitution to put it into Strengths so that I could even hold all of my necessary equipment. Overall, the character mechanically felt well fleshed out, and story-wise, he fit into place nicely within the order. In combat, Cressel's turn 1 order will likely be Hunt Prey, Hunter's Aim, for a good while unless someone is already hurt. His goal is to punch hard to end the fight quickly, and while the thought of getting gravity weapons seems fun in the future, I really don't think it's in the cards for what I want this character to become. We've had 3 sessions already, and I figured I'd share my experience a bit with this character so far. In session 0, we were getting the band back together, learning about each party member and taking an oath, to which my character took it very seriously, while other characters just wanted to get revenge on those who enacted the coup or protection to act as they wanted. Cressel doesn't quite know that though, and will act like his members are as serious as he is about the oath. Session 1. We are a new band of nameless knights, so we need to gain a reputation for ourselves. We ended up taking a disgruntled farmer's request as his sheep have been led astray by singing. No. So we go to the local tavern to ask who's heard the song and compare them all together. Each character did a different recall knowledge check, nature, society, occult, but the champion rolled a religion check and connected the dots on it being demonic in nature. Wait. We go and pick up some earplugs as we don't know how the music will impact humanoids, and we set out, eventually stumbling upon one of the lost sheep, which is foaming at the mouth and bites the rogue for 5 points of damage. Wait. We tie up the sheep and camp during the day, as the music only plays at night, and Cressel uses his Hunt Prey ability to give his survival a tracking bonus. When the music begins again, we let the sheep go and follow it, only to get caught by an avalanche which was started by the music. The champion critically failed the reflex save and is buried underneath the snow, and after a round or two, a homebrew monster, a living avalanche, rose from the snow, which proceeded to attempt to swallow the rogue who deftly dodged even in the rough terrain. A couple of stabs later, with one being a crit, it's Cressel's turn. My 3 actions are to help the champion out of the snow with one hand, Hunt Prey, and fire my bow, only to roll a nat 20. I made sure to capture the image of Cressel's first attack, because I rolled incredibly well. I made Frosty the Snowman's face disappear, and watched as it crumbled at the end of the second turn of combat. Cressel proceeded to heal those he could without flexing what was a moment surely worth celebrating. I'm learning who my own character is as we go, and perhaps the character is humble, or that he is just that dedicated to saving lives. The second session. We found and began tracking the sheep again after getting free of the avalanche, following it until we got close to the top of one of the many mountains, only to be met with more sheep and a goatman. We stealthily watch from afar as the goatman uses a giant axe to shred a tune and then slaughter the sheep, throwing its carcass down a sacrificial pit. Seeing this, most of the party sprang into action, much to Cressel's dismay at the lack of a stealthy approach. The GM had far too much fun planning this fight, as the goatman used some hard rock-inspired moves like an electric power slide that charged the sheep and damaged the party, along with plenty of auditory moves that caused tons of damage that our earplugs ended up being very useful against. The fight ended up being a lot harder than expected, with nearly a full TPK on our hands, as on the third round, the goatman used a version of Sound Burst which was reworded to be Thunderstruck that dropped all 3 of Cressel's companions doing 2d10 for a whopping 19 damage on a DC 19 will save. Cressel just so happened to be outside of the range, and he was up next. And exactly as I said above, I knew the plan of action. 1 action hunt prey, 2 actions hunter's aim. He rolled an 18 for a total of 28 on his attack roll, the +2 giving him the critical hit needed to take down the Goatman, who we learned, after a critically failed dubious knowledge check, was a servant of Baphomet. Cressel immediately drops his bow seeing the Goatman fall and grabs an elixir of life out of his pack, throwing it down the gullet of the skeleton, which I feel does the same thing Barbossa did drinking wine, and Cressel, not knowing that the skeleton has 0 medicine capabilities or stabilize, ended up having to do a battle medicine check to heal both of the allies rapidly. The party grabs the magically infused axe and take the Goatman's horn as a trophy and proof of our kill, and make our way back to town, getting a payout of 30 gold from the villagers we aided. Surely Cressel's luck won't always be this insane, and knowing my GM, there's a good chance my character's story will come around and bite him in the ass. Man, does it feel good to be a player again, after a year and a half of being solely a GM. I still have other games of my own I want to run, especially with more new people through the beginner's box. But it's nice to have to only worry about in-character note-taking, roleplay, and rolling once again. Oh hey, since you made it to the end, thanks for watching. As I get back into the swing of things, I'd be most grateful if you could subscribe as I get closer to 1,000 subs. I plan on doing the next top 5 creatures video after this one, but I still plan on doing more character videos, tokens, and maybe a session recap or 2 of Cressel in the future, should people want to hear about him. But with that, thank you all for watching, and may the dice be in your favor.